So as we mentioned, we covered already the risk identification, risk analysis, and risk uh, evaluation. After then, we moved to risk treatment, and we discussed what is the possible ways for responding to the risk, either by accepting, transferring, avoiding, or mitigating the risk. We need after then to do a risk reporting, and risk reporting should be tailored to audience. For example, if I need to report the risk assessment results to senior management, I should use terminologies and way that can be understandable from business context and from business overview. Accepted risk, for example, need to undergo a formal process, and we can use a dedicated form for accepting the risk, might known as risk acceptance form or RAF. And this form might be used to document the risks that need to be accepted and the criteria of accepting the risk. For any risk, we should identify risk owner, and risk owner identification should be done once we identify the risk. Organizations are using the risk register usually, and risk register could be a document or could be part from an online system. And using risk register, we can track all information related to risk, including what could be the source of the risk, who is the owner, what is the root cause of this, what is the impact, what is the probability, and what is the level of risk in total as a result of probability and impact, and what is the risk response strategy. Are we going to avoid, accept, or not? And what is the cost of this strategy, for example? So a risk register is a document or a database that is used to document and track the risk, and it should include description, information, owner, category, assessment, as well as the mitigation plan, the risk status, reporting, and risk ranking in a way that do a kind of allowing us to do a prioritization for risk and so on. So, as I mentioned, every organization may have its own kind of risk register. Some organizations may rely on a specialized software to do something like this. Mm, Maybe some organizations may follow the manual process, but in all cases, it will depend on the size and the scale of the organization, and organizations need to track such documents properly. And what is the goal of risk documenting? In order to make sure that we are documenting the previously taken decision to allow us for further review for these decisions in the future. Risk is not static. If I identified a certain type of risk as an accepted risk, that does not mean that this risk will remain accepted for the whole life. Maybe situation change, maybe the asset that this risk is related to it became eventually strategic or important. So what has been accepted before should not be accepted anymore. That's why we need to perform risk monitoring, and we can conduct risk monitoring by identifying indicators. And based on these indicators, we can identify what is the current level of risk or if there is any issue that could arise or emerge from this risk. So our next topic is risk monitoring, and specifically, we will start discussing what do we mean by KRI or key risk indicators and KPIs and how it is related to each other. So let's first start by identifying or discussing what do we mean by key performance indicators or what do we mean generally by the KPIs.